I'm Mark Biscone. My nickname is Bunsen. I was in pledge class 15. My badge number is 114. Graduated RIT in 99 with a Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry. Career highlights thus far, I think, are earning my PhD in microbiology. I got that from the University of Pennsylvania. I earned my status this year as a fellow in the American College of Healthcare Executives. And I also became board certified as healthcare administration. I have a black belt in healthcare Lean Six Sigma, and I'm currently working on my master's in public health in healthcare administration and policy from the University of Pennsylvania. As for life, I love to climb mountains. I love the outdoors, traveling. When I moved to Texas about 6 years ago, I really got into disaster management and response, both through work and volunteer. And I do a lot of community service here in Houston with the American Red Cross, the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, and the food bank. I have a wonderful family. My wife, Karen, is a nurse midwife, and she works for the county. I got a 1-year-old daughter, Lila, and a 3-year-old son named Andrew. And then we have 2 stepdaughters that live with us, a 14-year-old named Claire and a 16-year-old named Grace. So I have my hands full both on the toddler side and the teenage girl side, which I'll have to tell you, maybe I don't have to tell you, but it's quite a challenge. I have been blessed with a number of great mentors over my career. I think earliest on, my father has been a wonderful mentor for me. And then my boss at Kodak, Eastman Kodak, where I did 6 co-op blocks, and I've kept in touch with ever since, has been a wonderful model of what a boss should be and what a person should do. All right. The next section, in my current field in healthcare administration, I think one of the key trends that we see in need for our profession is better leadership, and couple that with innovation. So being able to think outside the box and make things work, finding solutions where traditional things have failed. I think people in the field, or in really any field these days, need to be willing to take additional courses or certifications to broaden their knowledge base and spectrum. And for the key companies in my space, it's really everybody in the system, and it's a complex system. So it's the hospital systems, the insurers that pay the insurance, local, state, and federal government, the medical device manufacturers, pharmaceutical companies, the tech companies. All of these play into this very complex system, and some of the lack thereof. Networking tips, I would say, be outgoing, project positivity, confidence, and inquisitiveness. Do your homework and ask intelligent questions. And I mean, if you know you're going to meet with somebody in particular, or you want to meet with somebody from a specific organization, do a little bit of Googling on that organization and find out what they're all, find out some specifics. Have a intelligent question to ask them, and really that'll go a long way. It'll make an impression, a lasting impression on them. LinkedIn, I use it every day, usually multiple times, frequently to look up some background on a specific person, or a picture for finding out what someone looks like at a networking event that I'm trying to meet. I use it for advertising for positions and finding candidates, definitely building my network, and for sharing information. I try to post at least once a week on a current event or a news article or something that has compelling data or information. And I was kind of shocked out of the blue. I got a notification from them that I was a top 1% influencer for last year. And I had no idea that I spent as much time or as much work on LinkedIn as I do. For my preferred contact information, I guess that means what type. I like email and text primarily, but I also use Skype and video chats and phone for having conversations and exchanging information. And since I go out and meet with, I have a region of Texas, basically the East region in Greater Houston, and I have about 200 hospitals, excluding other healthcare organizations that I am responsible for. So I try to make as many meetings with people at those facilities face-to-face, because it's really much more productive, especially when you're building an initial relationship with someone. For the most important thing I learned after leaving RIT was, really be flexible and adaptable. I have taken a very circuitous route to where I am now, but I've enjoyed success in a range of very, very different career paths and companies and a variety of roles. Also, I had learned to take some time if someone, doesn't treat you in the right way or send some kind of inflammatory email, don't respond right away. Don't get sucked into that. This doesn't end well for anyone. Take a night and sleep on it, and get some advice. Call up those mentors, and call up a buddy and get some other perspective, because you never know what's behind that. Also, I wish I learned earlier the power of networking. My last 3 positions have not gone through a traditional application route at all. I sense this trend is going to continue. One was a conversation over coffee. I was just, trying to network into the community in Houston, and at the end of that 2-hour coffee conversation, I had a job offer. And then the last 2 have been referrals from friends or colleagues that led to, out of the blue query for me to talk to somebody, and it led to a job offer without even, going through a typical application route. All right, I think I covered everything. I'm ready for questions.
Rob?
Can you hear me?
I'll tell you.
So I'm a biomedical engineer. With my major, it's a very broad field, and it can be sometimes hard for companies to pinpoint an exact location to put you. Have you experienced people in my field, and what have you seen working at different companies? Where have you seen them being applied?
So Rob, he's a 5th-year biomed engineer. He said with his major, since it's very broad, it's not always easy for a company to pinpoint where they can place a biomed engineer. In your experience, have you worked with any biomed engineers, and what exactly were they doing?
So I think that's probably the same for when I graduated with a biochemistry degree. So I could go in a variety of different companies, a variety of different career paths. So some of that was up to me to help the company find. If it's a biomedical engineer, they're used every day in hospitals. They're used to both keep up on critical equipment and make sure that it's performing as it should, and then also doing upgrades, investigating new technology. I mean, they're a very critical part of the hospital. I think a lot of the networking that you can do will end up defining what your role is, or what your role could be with a company, instead of just saying, well, there's these specific jobs out there.
Augie?
What are your thoughts on the Ebola outbreak?
What are your thoughts on the Ebola outbreak?
That was a very timely question. So I'm in Texas, where we've had one person present to be diagnosed with Ebola, die, and now infected at least 2 other people, both healthcare workers that were treating him. I actually was fortunate to work on Ebola as one of my viral topics my first year of grad school. So I had to learn quite a bit about it. It is not a very infectious virus. However, if you are exposed to direct contact with a virus containing fluid like mucus or semen or whatever, I mean, then the risk is high. If you have a cut or it's on one of your mucous membranes, you get it splashed in the eye, and it's just like the movies. At that point, there's a good chance that you may get infected. And with this virus, if you're infected, the case fatality rate right now is hovering around 70%. So it's not good. We don't have a defined treatment that's going to save a ton of people in this in this current outbreak. We have to figure that out. We have to come up with a vaccine. We have to come up with antivirals that work. But I think this is a big wake-up call for the U.S. I think the CDC did a poor job initially in handling this. I disagree with some of their moves in bringing patients into the United States and deciding to treat them in the facilities where the people aren't trained. So this facility in Dallas, it's just a typical community hospital. It's a big hospital. It's part of a bigger system. But, these guys are not treating anything near the risk level of Ebola on a day-to-day basis. So things that you treat in the hospital, you become familiar with, and it's something that you're treating fairly regularly, whether it's TB, tuberculosis, or HIV, or anything else. This is, a brand new pathogen, and they're just not trained to do that. So they shipped one of the patients today from Dallas to Emory, where they've been doing this for more than a decade. I think we're okay as long as we get a handle on this quick, but I think we've been late to the party, and I really hope that this person hadn't started exposing a lot of people on the airplane or elsewhere before she figured out that she was infected.
Mark, we have another couple questions here.
So this is
Go ahead.
It's a little more complicated. Good luck paraphrasing. So I define the happiest work that you can do is when you're being both successful in the work you're doing and also balancing that with your life outside of your job. So I wanted to ask, one, in what part of his career so far has he been doing his happiest work? And then two, did he know that in college, and what would he suggest for anyone in college to try and find what their happiest work is?
I'm going to try and paraphrase this one. So Matt Zebra, the fifth year at Mechie, he asked, the best jobs are the one where you're successful, but you're doing what you love at the same time. Combining with the family life. What's the second part?
So what is the work that he's done in his career that's his happiest and most successful?
Uh-huh.
And then,
So what's the work you've done so far in your life that's made you the happiest and the most successful? And is that what you thought you'd be doing in college?
or how can you identify that early in your career?
So I'll tell you that also your boss and your coworkers contribute a huge amount to your workplace happiness. So it may be something that isn't the most exciting job, or isn't the best pay, or isn't the best of everything. But if you have a great boss or great coworkers, then it can make all the difference in the world. My work at Kodak was primarily chemical, and I was really, really interested in getting into biochem and biotech, and that's why I went in and did my PhD in microbiology. But at that time, I had a phenomenal experience at Kodak, even though the work wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. I'll also say that when I did some construction work when I was in grad school to help pay bills, and eventually started a small construction company, that was extremely rewarding because at the end of the day, you can see this amount of progress that you did with your own hands. So I think it's really, trying to either find something that matches you or make sure that company has, a good boss or a good colleagues for you to work with, and that does make all the difference. You have to set the balance for your family life. Otherwise, some of these positions will just work you to death, and they'll take as many hours as you'll put in and keep pushing you.
Nick?
What are the most common resume faux pas he sees, and how do we avoid them?
Nick Montanaro, the current VGP, said, what are the most common resume faux pas that you've seen, and how do you avoid/fix them? You get it?
The most common that I see are grammatical or spelling errors, which really is, a bit upsetting. If you're a candidate and you're being screened for a job and that's your first presentation to this person, and you have, grammatical errors or spelling errors, I think that's very, very common, but it's so avoidable. Just making sure that multiple people look at it multiple times and you go over it. I see that even on LinkedIn on people's, sometimes just their titles. So, it's just something that's easy to take care of, but it's very, very common. And just presents the candidate in a poor light to start off.
Mark, we're almost at that 20-minute point. I wanted to ask you something that I think is relevant to the chapter. I've been sitting in chapter meeting tonight. While you were here, you were VGP, and I wanted to know your point of view on the value of taking on an officer position or committee chair position. Did you feel that helped you at all as far as career-wise, or did it give you any experience that was helpful to you?
Definitely. I think that plays exactly into what I see out in the field, that a lot of people are hesitant to take on those roles, or they haven't had the experience. So getting as much of that as you can over your early career and your lifetime is critical. These people need these places. Any industry needs strong leadership, the ability to communicate. So the more practice that you get at it, the more comfortable you are, the better presentation and better image that you show. I mean, it can only help you. It's a wonderful opportunity, and I encourage you all to do as much as you can in the chapter and outside of the chapter.
Mark, thanks for your time. I think this is a good point for us to wrap it up, so we're not taking too much of the chapter's time, but we appreciate you being the guinea pig, and hopefully, guys, you have appreciated exchanging ideas and thoughts with Mark tonight.
Yeah.
Sure. And if you guys can find me on LinkedIn, my email address is also just my first last name at gmail.com. So if you have further questions or you want to talk more, or you want to talk about career or what have you, just reach out.
All right, any last quick questions for Mark? Raul?
How amazing is Texas?
How amazing is Texas? Asks a Texas-born brother.
Texas is phenomenal. I actually grew up in Maine and spent a lot of time in the Northeast. I was floored at how much Texas and Maine are similar. We have cows and cowboys and cowboy foods, and people are really friendly, and they can do a lot of state pride and do a lot of stuff themselves. So I've been really happy with my life.
Oh, whoops.
Are you still there?
You still there? You there?
I'm going to have to put a perimeter around the buttons.
All right, thanks, Mark.